Okay, so let's talk Congress here. So, organization of Congress. Let's talk that first. The House has 435 people. Senate has 100. Are you okay? Are you Son of a gun. In your groups, I want you to talk about qualifications to be House or Senate member, the terms, the rules that are in each one that are different, the leadership, and I'm going to add one more. I would like you to also talk about the special powers that each has. Okay, so go. Take a couple minutes. All right, qualifications. How old do you have to be a House? 25. 25 and 7 years, a U.S. citizen. How about the Senate? 30, and you have to be 9 years, right? Okay. How about the terms? How long is the terms for a House?
2 years.
2. Every 2 years. So House representatives every 2 years have to get reelected. So this year, 2014, all 435 have to get reelected.
When are the elections?
In November of 2014.
Did you say it was the Senate that got split up into thirds?
Yes.
Okay.
So the Senate is every 6 years, okay? And that's like this year, a third of the Senate is up for re-election. Next year, another third, right? What are the special rules that go with each? The House has what? The Rules Committee, right? That put rules on the bills and what they can talk about and can't talk about, right? And the Senate has what special rules? That unlimited debate, okay? They can talk as much as they want to. How about the leadership? Who is in charge of the Senate?
Vice President.
The Vice President is the President of the Senate. What are some other leadership titles?
Speaker of the House.
There's the President pro temp in the Senate. Let's keep in the Senate. What else is in the Senate?
The whip.
There's the majority and minority whips and the majority and minority leaders, right? How about in the House?
Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House. And what are the powers of the Speaker of the House?
They
They appoint people to committees. They put bills to committees. They put people in committees. They what? They kind of set what they're going to talk about, their schedule. They are the ones, I think I misspoke on this, the House, the Speaker of the House also appoints the majority and minority leaders as well, okay? They're the ones that appoint that. Now, what special powers does the Senate have? What are some ways that they can maybe check the president, for example? Okay, the House and Senate together can veto. They are the ones that do all the confirming. So what are some things that they have to confirm in the Senate? Judges, ambassadors, treaties, cabinet members. I think those are the big ones. Yeah.
Anybody the president appoints has to go.
Most. Now, the White House staff, like his chief of staff, press secretary, do not have to be confirmed. Okay, his closest advisors do not have to be confirmed.
And is that from the phone book? Are the people he does or does not have to do?
Some do, some do not. So, like cabinet members are in the plum book, and they do not have to be, or they do have to be confirmed. But like his White House staff does not have to be confirmed.
Was it all in the plum book?
Yes.
So the plum book is just a name for people he appoints?
Yes. Yep. The House gets to establish the revenue bills, right? Yes. Okay. Anything else on Congress that we need to talk about? All right. We'll just do this real quick. The graph on page 359 in your book talks about that incumbents almost always win in the House, in the Congress. Yes. And some reasons why they win. Nobody cares as much about the House and the Senate. They can advertise. What's that called when they can send free mail? The franking privilege, right? They can credit claim. They can use casework. Do we know what casework is? Help out your constituents. Pork. Do we know what pork is? Pork barrel spending, where they can help their constituents by spending money. PACs. Where do PACs give most money to? Incumbents, right? So that's all reason that people win. Why they don't win? They do something stupid, corruption, weak economy, redistricting, right? We're good there? Yeah? All right, so how a bill becomes a law. We better talk about that process, and then we better talk about influences on that process. So let's take about 3 minutes how a bill becomes a law. So we understand it has to go through committees, right? And what can committees do to a bill? They can kill it, they can edit it, they can research it. This is where SIGs often come in, right? SIGs spend a lot of time in committees, talking to the committees, working on it. And then it goes to the full House, full Senate. They both have to agree on it. What happens if they don't agree? There's a conference committee, right? And that irons out the differences between the bill, and then it goes back for a yes or no vote. Yes? Okay, and obviously who's on what committee is influenced by the leadership. And we know that the committees are same majority as the full Senate and full House, right? Yes. And we understand SIGs and how SIGs can influence how a bill becomes law. And iron triangles. We could use a little review on an iron triangle. Well, let's take a field trip. We just took a quick little field trip over to the iron triangle, so you might want to take a look at an iron triangle that you have and make sure that you know that, because there will be an FRQ that asks you about that. I can pretty much guarantee that. Different committees. We didn't talk about, whoops.
Joint.
Okay, there's joint committees, which are what?
Senate and House.
Senate and House put together. That's one type. Conference committees, which do what?
Where there's two of the same bill from each house and then they smash them together.
They iron out differences between bills. Standing committees, which are? They're always there. They're subject matter. They hear bills. And then there's select, which often deal with special or investigations, such as congressional oversight. Do we understand congressional oversight?
Yeah.
That's probably going to be an answer to an FRQ. Okay, so if it ever asks, like almost every FRQ that asks you about the president and Congress, oversight is probably an answer. Okay, they can exercise oversight on the president. Watergate. They once had an oversight committee on Major League Baseball where they were looking at steroids and things like that. Anything and everything. Okay, now how often have you heard about your congressman engaging in oversight? Not a ton. Okay, and so instead they don't focus on this a ton. Usually the media finds out before they do. So here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you with your group to talk about how the following things are related to Congress. So how does the president influence Congress? How does Congress influence the president? How does the party influence Congress? How does Congress influence the party? Yes? All right, let's do this. Here we go. Oh, president, Congress, how do they influence each other? You can tell me checks and balances. You can tell me informal things. But more specifically than that,
Well, the president has something he promised to get done, so he tries to get Congress to do those things.
okay, so the president might set the agenda through the State of the Union, right? Okay, what else?
Congress controls the budget for the
Congress controls the budget for the bureaucracy. What else? Congress can override a veto or be vetoed. Okay, what else?
Congress makes laws, so we have to implement, and if they aren't implementing it right, then they'll make a new one that they just.
How about this one? Congress can pass amendments, constitutional amendments, congressional oversight. Don't know why I said it like that. Anything else? How about the political party? How does the political party affect Congress? Okay, platform determines how a lot of congressmen vote. Okay. Determines the makeup of committees and the leadership, right? Okay, and divided government could lead to what? Okay. How about constituents? How do constituents affect Congress?
They do what they want.
Congressman try and please it.
Okay, so Congress tries to please them. Now, do they have to work really hard to please them?
No.
Not really, because they know they're going to get reelected. Okay, but they are going to vote with their constituents versus voting with the president, right? Okay, how about SIGs? How can SIGs influence Congress? Lobbying, money, or electioneering, information, voter support. Okay, get out the vote. Drives. How about the media? How does the media affect Congress? What?
They show like what the people want to see, so that Congress.
Okay, influences the policy agenda and what Congress is going to get done.
They monitor Congress.
Ooh, they monitor. So a lot of times, they are the ones that are coming up with what Congress is going to oversee, what Congress is going to do oversight before they do. How about state and local? Oh, that's all right. State and local governments? Where does Congress come from? Congressmen come from state and local governments, right? And congressmen are often looking to do pork, right? And casework that will help the state and local governments. Yeah? How about the judicial branch? We didn't talk about the judicial branch. They are the quiet branch, I agree. But how can Congress affect the judicial branch, or what's the relationship right there?
They approve nominations.
Okay, they approve the nominations. The Senate does. What else can they do? How else? Congress, judicial branch, what we're talking about. Okay, judicial review can affect Congress's laws. Yep. Congress can pass, you can't see this, but Congress can pass constitutional amendments. Yeah, anything else? Ooh, very good. This would be, yeah, impeachment. And removal from office, right?
Or judicial interaction.
And same for the president, right? What's that? I know, because I forgot about that. All right, that's Congress. Any other questions on Congress? You ready to talk budget? Well, we're going to. All right, now, here's what I've done. I've done the budget in two slides. No, I'm sorry. One slide. So, okay, let's, here's the slide, here's the big things you need to know. Let's talk about it just with your groups, talk about what you know, what you don't know, and then I'll answer questions. So just wrap it up. Does that sound good? All right, go to it. What do you know, what do you not know? The budget is a policy, right? And the budget is made up of what two things?
Money.
How much money? Well, it's money. Money we bring in. How do we bring in money? Taxes and borrowing, right? We bring in money by taxing and borrowing. How do we spend money?
By lending.
Okay, we can lend money or, what's that? To grants, to entitlements, right? To interest on the national debt, true. And what are some ways that we, what are some different types of income tax? Do we know? Or what are some different types of taxes?
Income
The
tax.
income tax. Our income tax is what type of tax? Progressive. The more money you make, the higher percentage you pay, right? Compared to a flat tax where everyone pays the same percent. There's also corporate taxes, right? There's sin taxes, also known as excise taxes on things like cigarettes, okay, alcohol.
I have a question. Okay, so like millionaires, they have to pay a lot, like percent, but if they give things out through like charity, then how do they pay?
So they would pay. They would still have. So like the way taxes work is okay. Let's say you're a millionaire, so you owe 35% of your income. But what they do is they can deduct from their income. So they might get their income down to $100,000 after they've deducted. So then they only owe 20%, let's say. So tax deductions, right? Those are a way that the government loses money. Now the government loses money on tax deductions, right? Which are write-offs and loopholes. Why do they allow them?
Because it saves the money on like donating charities and that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's things government wants you to do as citizen. Let's see here. So let's see here. When we write the budget, we use incrementalism. Incrementalism. Do you remember what that is? Everyone gets a little more than last year, right? So we don't have to start from zero. And then automatically we take out uncontrollable expenditures, right? Our mandatory spending. What are things we have to pay for in the budget? Social Security, which is a type of what? Entitlement, something that people are guaranteed if they meet the criteria. What else would be an uncontrollable mandatory spending? Interest on the national debt, okay? Welfare, things that we have to pay out. Then we're left with like 40% of the budget that Congress gets to fight over, right? So then the president starts the process, right? Remember the OMB, okay, helps the president. Who else helps the president?
White House.
His staff, but also the agencies help him too, right? Like each agency will tell him, here's how much we think we need. He writes a proposal, then where does the proposal go? It goes to Congress, and then Congress, here's where they have this, remember the fixed calendar? They had the Balanced Budget Reform Act in the 70s that required them to have a calendar. Do they follow the calendar?
No.
Not very often, okay? But they're supposed to have a budget resolution. What's the budget resolution?
An agreement.
An agreement on what?
The budget between the president.
Nope. What's the budget resolution in Congress?
Oh, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it says, here's how much we're going to spend. This is it. And that has to be agreed on by the budget committee and by the whole House and whole Senate, okay?
And it gets raised.
Then they start looking at, okay, how much are we actually going to appropriate, right? Okay, and what committees do that? Appropriations committees, they have, and how many usually different spending bills are there? 13. Remember, there's usually 13 appropriations bills based on different topics, and they write how much they're actually going to spend. What happens when how much we appropriate and our budget resolution is off? What do we start writing? Reconciliation bills, okay, where we change things to bring that in line. Okay, reconciliation, we can change programs, we can say we're going to spend less money, things like that, to actually meet the budget resolution. The appropriations bills are law. Okay, like they have to go through the appropriations committees, go through the whole House, go through the whole Senate, and then who has to sign it? The president. Okay, and if the president doesn't sign it by October 1st, what happens? The government shuts down. Now, that rarely happens. Emphasis on rarely. Okay, or as I told AT Gov 1, it won't happen. What usually? I really did ask them. Like they were like, is the government going to shut down? I'm like, no, they're going to pass a continuing resolution.
We asked
like
you
they
like
always
7
do.
times.
Every day they would ask me. I'd be like, no, stop it. The media's just
You
making a
were
big
so
You were
excited when it
about it.
actually
Oh, I
shut
was so
down.
excited.
You were
Yes,
just
it really
like,
was.
oh my gosh, the government shut down.
It was really
Yay!
It was a really good teaching moment. So anyways,
Who cares
what
that
usually
the
happens?
government's
They usually
fine.
don't shut down the government. What do they usually do? Okay, do we know what a continuing resolution is? You're funding at the same level as you funded before. Now, have they met these fixed calendar and budget resolutions? Have they usually met those? No. So they've tried other reforms, right? What are some of the other reforms they've tried?
There was one where they were going to try and cut spending a little bit.
And if Congress couldn't cut the spending each year, who got to then cut it? The president. That was the Graham-Rudman-Holland Act, or the Balanced Budget and Deficit Control Act. Okay, and it was terrible, right? Because they were like, "Why are we giving the president so much power to just cut?" Remember what those cuts were called?
Slices.
Sequestrations.
Oh,
Remember that? So I just want to say that in case you see that word and are like, "What?" They've tried like to pay as you go. Like if you're going to introduce a new entitlement program, you better have a way to pay for it. They tried to cap the spending because then they were like, okay, we're not going to be able to cut our debt. Let's shift to controlling spending. So they had those 3 categories of spending. If you increase one category, if you decrease another category, did that work? No. So now it's kind of in this area of let's just try to control our spending. And obviously, as we know, has not been super successful because people want services, right? In order for Congress to get reelected, President gets reelected, they need to provide those services. And do people like high taxes? No, not really. And that's the budget. Oh, we didn't talk about the CBO. You know the CBO, right? The people that help Congress? Okay. Yep, congressional budget. And that was all the, what was that reform called? No, I can't remember. The 1974 Budget Control Act, I believe it was called. Okay, that's everything. The calendar, the budget committee, the CBO, it was all there.